everybody. This is the Hallmarkies podcast, and we are so excited today. We are getting to interview one of our favorite Hall stars. We're talking to Tammy Gillis, and we're so excited to get to talk to her about her many projects. And I'm Rachel, and Amber's here.
Hi, everybody.
And Tammy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you guys.
Yeah.
I guess I'm Tammy Gillis. I'm an actress. I love working on Hallmark projects. And
inspired you to become an actor?
Well, I was kind of always that kid that, tried to get attention in some way, because I'm the middle child now. Middle child syndrome, I totally have that. So I would do things to sort of get attention from my family. And one of my friends from my childhood, we used to put on like these rope swing shows that we thought were really amazing, but were really lame probably. And then when I was in high school, a new English teacher came to our school. Her name is Darlene Grimstead, and she started a theater program, a drama club. And so I started doing plays in high school because I'm from such a super, super small town that, you kind of don't do everything, then nothing really happens. So the very first play I did, I played Grandpa. Not Grandma, but Grandpa, because there were no boys in our drama club. And then I kind of got hooked on it then. But being from such a small town in rural Manitoba, I'd never really met any professional actors, or really even thought that was like an option. Until I was in university, and then I was out with some friends, and I got scouted by a modeling agency, and they signed me on, and I very quickly learned I did not really enjoy modeling. But I like the acting aspect of it, because I started auditioning for commercials, and I booked some commercials, and then in university I started taking theater for my electives and classes in Winnipeg, and then that's how it all began.
Cool. That's really neat.
So what was your favorite play that you were in?
Well, in my grade 12 year, we did MASH. So I got to play Hot Lips Houlihan.
Amazing.
So that was really fun.
So I noticed on your IMDb, you've done a lot of different episodes of different shows. And I was just curious, what if there were any particular ones that stood out the most, that were particularly memorable, of the various episodes you've done of different shows?
Well, it's interesting, because like I always find that there's something about each project I work on that I really love. So I really love, one show, a J-Pod, that aired on HBO Canada. It's a comedy. It's a pretty dark comedy. Was really fun experience for me, because I got to be really, really crazy. And I also got the opportunity to work with Mark McKinney, who used to be on like Kids in the Hall, and he's been on Saturday Night Live a whole bunch of times, and he's currently one of the stars of Superstore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was really cool. Just also because I hadn't really been able to do much comedy. So he directs very much in the same way that Judd Apatow does, in that, you'll do the scene, and then he'll still start throwing out lines, and like you just gotta kind of stay in it and just go with it. Because you never know, you can strike gold with like some improv dialogue. So that was really, really fun. And then a show that I just shot last year called Ghost Wars, which is on Sci-Fi right now and on Netflix around the world, except in the US. That was a really fun show, because I'd worked with two of the executive producers on a couple of different shows before. And there was a lot of local Vancouver people in it, as well as Meatloaf, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Kim Coates. And that was just super fun, because it's unlike anything I've ever done before. I played a mercenary, so kind of like a highly skilled operative. So I got to, like chase chase people, have them chase me. I got to shoot bad guys. I got to fly in a helicopter. It was sort of living my action hero dream.
Oh.
That's amazing.
Did you grow up watching kind of Hallmark style movies, rom-coms, kind of things? Is it something that you liked?
Yeah,
Christmas
rom-coms
movies?
are my favorite. And Christmas movies, yeah, absolutely. And I find like even now something will come on and all of a sudden I'll get hooked into it because I'll recognize someone. And then like 2 hours later, I'm like, what happened? But yeah, like I love romantic comedies. I always have. And there's like no bad romantic comedy for me because they always make you laugh and make you smile.
Your first Hallmark Hallmark project was a novel romance, I
Actually,
believe.
we go way back
Oh,
to, the first one I did, it's funny because I was talking with someone about it today. The very first one I did was called The Mermaid Chair, and I thought it was Home by Christmas. And it might have been Home by Christmas first. They just may have aired it differently.
oh. So what was that like?
Home by Christmas was my only Christmas movie I've done. For some reason, I get like the rom-coms and I get the murder mysteries on Hallmark. But that was really fun because I got to work with Linda Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've been a huge fan of hers from Terminator for sure. And she was just really cool and still like super fit and just, yeah, like a really, really cool woman.
And you were just like, I'm living the Terminator right now.
Well, it was funny because I was playing her ex-husband's new wife.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason they told me they cast me is because I kind of looked like her.
Mm-hmm.
So, which would infuriate her character more, obviously, if, her husband sort of traded her in for a newer version.
Yeah.
And it was funny because on the first day of filming, we had already sort of chatted in the hair and makeup trailer, so I knew she was like totally lovely and super cool. But on set, when we got to set, she acted like she hated me, and everybody was like, oh my god, what did you do to Linda? And I'm like, she's joking around, and like she kept it going for a little while, and then eventually she was like, I gotcha, everyone. I was like, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, what's it like to be on a Hallmark movie? Is it a stressful experience? Is it a fun experience?
It's never like, the thing is it's a movie, it's a production, and they can be a stressful environment at times because it's always like, having directed and produced now, like I understand the production side of it. You're always kind of putting out fires and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, they're always like a really great atmosphere because the message that is sent in so many Hallmark projects is one that's positive. And also generally the cast is always really, really great. Like we're used to sort of being thrown into this new family in a short period of time and you work really long days. So generally speaking, everybody's really great and really friendly and you just bond together really quickly.
Did 2 Signed, Sealed, Delivered projects. What was that like?
I did. That was so much. I loved working on those movies. The postable fans are just incredible. It was cool because the first one that we shot, Signed, Sealed, Delivered, Truth Be Told, I at that time didn't know there was going to be a second movie.
Mm-hmm.
But on my first day of shooting, the executive producer, Martha Williams, and she pulled me aside and was like, okay, I have a secret to tell you. And I'm like, okay, what is it? She's like, we're doing a sequel to this storyline. And I'm like, no way. So she shared with me a lot of what was going to be in the second one, but
Mm-hmm.
and it was unusual because Hallmark greenlit the sequel before even reading a script. And that was one of the first times I guess Hallmark had ever done that. so she was right in the middle of writing it while we were shooting the first one. And that was really a really incredible experience because I did a lot of research about like females in the military and what it would be like to have been held captive for 2 years in Afghanistan, like what mentally that may have done to my character. So I studied up on a lot of like post-traumatic stress disorder, because she was really, she gave me such great insight. And there was like a 3-month period in between filming that I could then have the opportunity to do all this research. Because she was like, you need to think about what would have that been like. Would you have been hurt? Would you have been psychologically damaged? Like where would you have like been kept? Where would you have slept? So it went from being, and like, that was really fun because I got to kind of do part of my stunts in that. And like, there's one scene where there's an explosion and we're getting into a helicopter after rescuing a wounded soldier, and there's an explosion and I fall out of the helicopter, and that's how they capture me. So I got to do like some action hero-y stuff in that as well. So I'm clearly I want to do more action hero stuff. But that was, and it was, it's a special movie for me, especially the second one, Impossible Dream. The scene where I'm reunited with my daughter and my dad. It's like funny, even thinking about it right now, it gets me emotional because it was just like, there was so much weight in that scene, and it was kind of hilarious because every single take we did, myself and the other lead female characters, especially from Signed Sealed, Kristen Booth and Crystal Lowe, we would all start crying.
I mean, I don't know how you wouldn't be able to. It's amazing.
Every single take we start crying, and the director was like, Tammy, you might want to save some of that for like your coverage. And I'm like, I can't stop crying.
Yeah, you've done a little bit of everything. Do you like that, like mixing it up and doing some comedy, doing some drama, action?
I try really hard to make sure that I'm not sort of stuck in one thing, because I get bored really quickly. So it's like, if I feel like I'm playing kind of the same character over and over again, it's just like, it doesn't sit well with me. And I've actually, had conversations with my agents where I've said, I want to sort of take a break from doing these kinds of characters, and I want to see what else we can explore and what else we can open up, because I love to be challenged. I'm terrified by it, but I also really love being challenged by different roles.
Yeah, that's really cool. So Unleashing Mr. Darcy, that was one of the first times I remember seeing you in Hallmark. What was that experience like?
Oh, that was so fun. I really loved working with Cindy Busby. She has so much energy, and she's just such a good and fun, caring person. So we really hit it off. And then the rest of the cast were really incredible. Like, we all really bonded. And I think that's probably partly due to Frances Fisher. She invited us all to go to this movie like a day or two before we started filming. And the movie was like one of the saddest movies I've ever seen in my life. So there was like 15 of us, and we're all strangers to one another, all sitting together in the dark, all bawling our eyes out, but being kind of embarrassed because you're with essentially strangers. And I think that Frances did this on purpose, because it immediately bonded us all, because we just went through this experience of, this traumatic event. And it really brought us all closer together. And then, of course, the dogs in the movie were amazing.
Yeah, your shared pain you had together,
Yeah, shared pain. It was funny though, like the puppies and all the show dogs when we were
shared pain and Shar-Pays.
Yes. Good one. That was we loved working around all those dogs.
Yeah. Well, we interviewed Cindy, so she said similar thing. She was very fun. So we can tell that she's fun to work with.
Yeah.
I think you are officially the busiest person at Hallmark this year because you already had 3 movies.
Yeah, I've been really lucky. That's for sure. And it's interesting because, well, The Sweetest Heart we shot in, I want to say end of January, early February, and that's airing on Saturday. So yeah, the turn is quite quick.
Yeah, amazing. So I also seen you in Wedding Bells.
Wedding Bells, that was fun.
Yeah, I liked that one. It was sort of the having the sort of the wedding planners, and I liked the way that you and your fiance in the movie that I feel like you weren't one of the insufferable, horrible brides that I hate. And because that's my like least favorite Hallmark thing is bridezillas.
Right.
But and you guys just realized that, oh, this is not like, you're very grown up about it, I think, which is good. And I like that movie a lot. I think it's really good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I make it like, the thing is like, I have 2 sisters and one of them definitely was a bridezilla. So it's like I can understand like where that frustration comes from for them, but also, you know, I don't want people to totally hate my character, you know. So I try to make an effort to definitely show all sides of a character, and especially like the really human sides that everybody can relate to, right?
Yeah. Well, I think like you guys saw the fact that they were falling in love, and you could say, well, what's different than what we're experiencing, like we should be where they're at. And
Right.
yeah, we're the ones getting married. So I like that. I also love in that movie, it's the only one where they kind of break up and they have this period without each other, and then they end up getting together. But I felt like that was really unusual for Hallmark, that to kind of have, usually just ends on, oh, we've been dating or we've been together for a week and we're gonna get married. I kind of like that they had this sort of in between period in that movie. But and you guys were like, have you called her? Have you called him? What are you doing? So
yeah, I like that too.
yeah. So you had directed a web series, The Support Group. Is that something you want to do more of, is directing?
Yeah, definitely. The Support Group was a web series created by these 3 women that when I have time, I coach and teach actors, and I haven't done it that much for the last couple of years because I've been so busy. But I previously had worked with them, and they wanted to do something to sort of showcase their talent. And they created this, and they knew that I was looking for something to direct. And I read it and I thought it was cute, and it was an opportunity to do more comedy, but also was an opportunity for me to sort of get my feet wet directing and see if I liked it or not. And I found that I really, really enjoyed doing it a lot. So that's made me sort of try to look for more projects to direct, and also write some projects that I possibly am going to direct.
Wow. So you just want to have as many sort of irons on the fire as possible, huh?
That's right. And one of the things that I love about Hallmark too is that there's so many of the women that are sort of like the Hallmark, the main Hallmark women that are producing their own projects, and being heavily involved in that. It's really inspiring, and I think it's really amazing that Hallmark's giving these women these opportunities. It's like Rachel Lee Cook from Frozen in Love. She executive produced that, and she also came up with the storyline for the movie. And I worked with Rachel on a movie, it's like 7 or 8 years ago in Montreal, and we've been friends ever since then. So it was cool to talk to her and, you know, hear about her producing experience and like the support the network has given her. So it's like, if I eventually fall down that path, I'm okay with that.
What does actually go into producing a Hallmark movie? What is that, just sort of coordinating everything kind of going on, or what do they do?
It kind of depends on what kind of producer you are. But like generally, if you're more of like the line producer, that's like you're organizing all the crews and getting all that stuff together. But like when you're executive producing, it's kind of like you're overseeing everything. And also one of your jobs as an executive producer is to really make sure that everything's staying on track and telling the story that you want to tell, because there are so many different people involved. Sometimes people can make a decision about something that it's not going to fit and it's going to stand out in a weird way. So you kind of have to be paying attention to everything all the time. And it's that job in and of itself is really challenging. But when you're executive producing and also starring in the movie, it gets a little crazy. And like just thinking about Rachel on Frozen in Love, she was there every single moment, every single day from beginning to end, as well as at times obviously having to act in the scene.
Interesting. I always wondered what really entailed, producers. So you had been in an indie film recently,
Minorca?
Yeah, tell us about that.
Minorca was a really an interesting experience. I'd worked with the writer-director of Minorca previously, like 15 years ago. He like cast me in one of the first things I ever did, which was like a really low-budget independent short film. And I ran into him at Christmas when I was back. I'm originally from Manitoba, in Winnipeg. And I ran into him at like a Shoppers Drug Mart, and we sort of were catching up, and I asked what he was up to, and he said he wanted to direct a feature film. And I was like, that's awesome. Keep me in the loop. So when time came for them to start casting, I found out about it, and they asked if I would, tape for the lead role, and I did, and I got it. And it's a really dark movie about this really unhappy woman that does bad things to kind of make herself feel better, make herself feel alive. And she takes off, she steals the van and she takes off from her son's soccer practice. And her son calls her and he tells her not to come home. And for the first time, that really affects her. And she decides that he is one of the most important things in her life. So she tries to win him back by going on this even crazier journey, where she takes his pet rock and she wants to take it back to Minorca, which is an island in Spain. Because the previous year he brought the rock from Minorca to, I guess, I don't even know if they stipulated that it's Winnipeg, Manitoba. And he, as kids, 7-year-old kids may think, he felt like he stole it and that he should, and he was really upset and he really wanted to return it. And we were like, well, that's impossible because that's Minorca and that cost us thousands of dollars. So my Claire's crazy idea that she comes up with is that if she returns the rock there and lets him know, that maybe he'll forgive her, because she does this grand gesture.
Mm.
So it was great because I got to shoot in Winnipeg for 3 weeks, but I also got to shoot in Spain for a week.
Mm.
And it's a independent film that we made for about $250,000, and we were really lucky because it's played all around the world. It's played at film festivals all around the world. It's been in theaters in Canada and the US, and it's currently on Netflix in the US, and I think it's on like Amazon and iTunes in Canada. But that was a really great experience, and I learned so much about what it takes to get an independent film seen, especially if you don't have a lot of money to market it.
So you've been in several of the murder mystery movies, and obviously most recently, The Deadly Deed. And so I was wondering, what's it like going into one of those projects where they have, a recurring cast who probably already has some chemistry, and then going into it and trying to establish yourself as someone who they know previously, and like with the case with Jason Cermak, where you are his sister that we haven't really met before. How's that kind of dynamic when you're on set?
It was actually pretty easy for me to just sort of jump in, because I knew Jason. I've known Jason for a number of years,
Mm-hmm.
so we were excited just to have the opportunity to work with each other finally. And then I actually, such a small world, Colin Ferguson and I were in the first ever movie of the week I did for ABC called Inside the Osmonds. So I had the opportunity to work with him like 15 years ago. So it was really cool to be able to work with him again now and just like see how far we've come since then. Mm-hmm. And then also John Cassini, who played Jim Hopkins, is somebody that I've known in Vancouver for a really long time. And he also executive produced it. And he was also Jules' acting coach. So he was around a lot. So it was a really easy fit, actually. And the director was a really incredible guy. His name's Mark Jean. And he had just rescued a dog from, I think, Texas. And so he had this like beautiful dog that would come to set with him when she could. And so the very first day of shooting, he has this beautiful dog, and we were shooting outside, and the scene that we shot first was near the end of the movie where Mac finds me on a bench sitting by the ocean. And the dog would, because I'm kind of upset in the scene, the dog would sense I was upset, and it would come up and put its head on my knee.
Oh.
It was so adorable, but it was also like the dog can't be in the shot. But that dog, like, it was a big bonding thing for a lot of people, and sort of interesting because Mark had told me that he'd only rescued it about 2 weeks before they started prep on the movie, and the dog at that time was so scared that it wouldn't even come out from under his desk. And it was it was incredible how much she transformed into this dog that like absolutely is in love with Mark, and like she just follows him around, never heard her bark even once, and would generally stay by his side when we're shooting the film and he's directing. So that was pretty cool. I love stories like that people do things like that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So you're a big animal person. It seems like you bond with the animals that you work with.
I love animals. I don't have any though. I just kind of feel like it's not really fair to them because I'm away so much. I work so much.
Yeah. Well, I guess at least you get to work with a lot, so that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have a series coming up called Sirens?
Yes, it's just Siren.
Oh, okay. Siren.
Yeah, it's Siren in terms of like a mermaid is a siren. Like they have like folklores about women that were sirens that would sing a magical song that would lure fishermen and their boats into crash into the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So Siren is a story or a show about this mermaid obsessed town, and then mermaids come, and then the dealing with that, because sometimes they're not always the friendliest.
Uh-huh. Oh, so would you
And
say
based on the poster art, it seems like it's going to be kind of darkish.
Yes, it's very dark and mysterious and kind of a little scary. If you watch the trailers, you'll definitely get a big sense of that. And I play the main town deputy, Deputy Marissa.
Oh, interesting. Would you compare it to like any, I don't know, like any shows that are currently on, kind of in tone and feel, or is it just kind of its own thing?
It's interesting. Well, trying to think I haven't actually seen a lot of it. I've only seen sort of clips here and there, and then when I do, it's called ADR, which is automated dialogue replacement.
Yeah.
I've seen clips from that, but some people said it has sort of like a Twin Peaksy kind of feel.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm not really sure.
So like more Twin Peaks, less Vampire Diaries.
It's a tough one. Like, 'cause I haven't seen it.
Right.
You know, but it's definitely got like that mysterious, dark vibe that you don't really know what's going to happen next.
Gotcha.
Wow. So you've done 3 Hallmark movies so far this year, plus a series that's going to be airing, plus another movie, A Dog's Way Home is what I read. And how do you balance all of this? Do you sleep?
When I can. Absolutely. It's funny because I'm actually shooting a pilot right now as well.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a bit challenging at times, but it all worked out, which was a miracle. Like at one time I was shooting 3 different projects. I was shooting Siren, I was shooting A Dog's Way Home, and I was shooting, was it Deadly Deed? Could have been Deadly Deed. And it was crazy because Deadly Deed we shot in Victoria, which you can only get there by a plane or a ferry. And so I would fly to Victoria, work, and then fly back the next day to work on Siren.
Oh
So
my gosh.
that week and a half where I was working on 3 different shows was definitely a little bit challenging, but I like to be really, really well prepared. So I basically, at the end of every night, I would just sort of shed off that character and then refocus on whatever I was doing the next day.
Yeah, that must be challenging to go from like, I mean, I guess at least Deadly Deed is a mystery, so maybe it's not like a huge changing of things, but still, I would think that would be hard.
Yeah, well, the thing is too, they're very, very different characters as well. And one of the things that I feel really helps me is like obviously being super prepared, but also the costumes really, really help, because like me as Deputy Marissa, I wear like a deputy uniform and I have like, sensible, practical shoes if I need to like chase someone, and I have like a gun belt, and so it's like it's very different than my character Whitney Sloan in Deadly Deed, who's a bookstore owner, and she's definitely a lot more feminine, and it's a little bit more pretty and more colorful. So I feel like the costume always really helps me a lot.
Amazing. I've heard a lot of time that the physicality of a character really helps you inform like your performance, so like posture and how they hold their hands and things. And so I imagine that would apply to like a deputy who would have to have like the weight of their gun belt would make them walk differently and things like that.
Absolutely. Like one of the things that I tried to focus on being Marissa was to always make sure that I'm really grounded. So that to me meant, standing with a bit wider of a stance.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a bit more masculine. It was a bit more commanding. That's something that I thought about quite a bit. And also I feel like she would be a lot more still. She would sort of watch and take things in more than jumping to conclusions. Versus Whitney, at times, I feel like I was like, how much coffee was I drinking that day? She is talking so fast.
Cool. That's really cool. Well, we like to kind of end our interviews with a little like fun, some fun questions.
Awesome.
And so Amber's gonna give you those. And so.
Yes, I like to consider these our teen beat questions.
Love
it. So the first one, best ice cream flavor.
Oh, like a creamsicle flavor. You can get ice cream that tastes exactly like a creamsicle.
Oh.
Amazing.
So good.
All right. Favorite color?
Blue.
Great. What music are you listening to right now? Like, what would be on your iPod?
You know what? I started listening to Miley Cyrus the other day. I was just like really I heard like this one song by her and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm okay. So on my Spotify or whatever I'm listening to, I'm like, let's type in Miley Cyrus radio.
Nice. I love it. You're making great choices.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, and then what is your go-to date night food?
Pizza.
Oh.
Ooh, what kind is favorite?
Well, I have a food allergy, so I'm celiac and lactose intolerant, which is like a horrible combination for someone who loves pizza.
Yeah.
But I generally never stray from a ham and pineapple pizza.
That's just the right choice.
I don't know if I can allow that, but that's okay.
And actually ham and pineapple or Canadian bacon and pineapple? Because there is difference.
There is a difference, but it's always ham.
Okay, good. Yeah. You're making all the right choices.
Thank you.
All right, and then kind of goes along with this, go-to date night activity.
Watching a movie.
What do you think is a good date night movie?
A good date night, something scary, so you gotta have to be close to one another.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best scary movie?
Oh my goodness. Well, Mama is one of the scariest movies I think I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Right?
I didn't want to watch it, but the girl who played my daughter in Signed, Sealed, Delivered, who's from Vancouver, Megan Charpentier, she plays one of the daughters in Mama. And so we were sort of talking about it because she worked with Jessica Chastain, which is like amazing, right?
Yeah.
And so she was talking about it. I'm like, I haven't watched it. I've got to watch it. And I watched it and I was so scared. And I'm like, Megan, you did not prepare me for that movie at all.
Oh man, I'm kind of a scary movie wimp.
Are you? Yeah.
I like
that one.
I mean, I'm a huge wimp, but I tough it out. I mean, I'm covered in blankets and I like have to have people around me and the lights on to be protected, but I go for it.
Well, it's so funny because I watched that movie with my husband and I look over and he has his shirt pulled up over his eyes. And I'm like, really? I'm in this, watching this.
That's funny. That's cute. That's really cute. Yeah, I think Jaws is a great scary movie to watch on a date or with a group or whatever, because it's just the music and just everything.
Yeah. That's such a good movie. Just don't watch it before you go on vacation.
Yeah.
Anywhere hot.
Right.
I have seen places where they have like a big projector in the ocean while you watch Jaws.
Are you
I don't even know how you could manage that.
There's no way. There's no way.
I think it would be fun. I would be all about it.
Okay, and then the next one is dogs or cats?
Ooh, that's a tough one. It's a real tough one. Because literally the only animal that I ever had as a pet was a cat. And the reason that I haven't allowed myself to get pets is because my cat died and I was so distraught and so heartbroken that I'm like, I can never go through that again. That's a tough one. I don't know.
Not that many people
I can't
pick.
choose.
Not that many people pick cats, so maybe
Really?
throw them a.
Well, it's funny because my little sister, had a cat that was completely psycho. It was like the scariest cat to be around because you didn't know what it was going to do, and it didn't like anybody except for her. So it would just like you'd be randomly walking and it just come flying up and like attack your leg.
But so not that cat, but
not that
ones,
cat.
maybe.
We were certain she was possessed.
And then beaches or mountains?
Beaches. That's also a tough one. I love to ski, but I love to lay out by like a pool or the sand. I love the warm.
It's heaven.
Great.
To me.
Yeah.
All right. And then fancy dress, like ball gown or sweats?
Sweats, definitely.
All right. And then favorite holiday?
Christmas, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it is basically the most popular holiday in the world. So
yeah.
How can you beat it?
It was always a really big deal in my family, and also living so far away from my family now, that's generally the one time of year that we're all together. So it makes it pretty special.
And this one is often really tricky for you Canadians because you don't get the Hallmark channel, but favorite Hallmark movie?
And you can pick one you've been in. We don't care.
I would say I'm going to pick, Signed, Sealed, Delivered, Impossible Dream.
Good one.
Yeah, I had a lot of fans reach out to me about that movie and how special they felt it was, and just how much they loved it. So it was a really special experience for me, in honoring this character, and just seeing how much people enjoyed it really, really meant a lot.
I mean, it's the perfect answer. You really nailed it.
We love Signed, Sealed, Delivered over here. So
there's such a good group of people, like the main cast and just like the creator and the director. It's just like, there's such good people.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
It's a show with so much heart, and
yes,
every movie is just so great.
Yeah. Martha's so just brilliant. Like, she literally is one of the smartest, most powerful women that I've ever met. And she's just like, her presence is just wow. Yeah. Like, I can't say enough good things about her. She has just an amazing heart, but she's also just like she just captures a room. She's so powerful.
You can tell that there's someone like that behind the show for sure. So that's really cool. So thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much. It was so fun talking to you two. I'm like, I have to put a face to the voice. So I'm gonna check you out online.
Oh, well, thanks. Check out the YouTube channel.
Oh, perfect. I'm definitely going to do that.
So make sure you check out on Wednesday for the podcast, our regular episode. We are going to be talking about the 4 mystery programs that have aired, movies that have aired so far this year. Ruth is going to be joining us, Ruth Hill, and we're really excited for that. We also have our When Calls the Heart recap, which will be on Thursday, and Ruth will also be our regular co-host with that. And it's going to be the big wedding we're going to be recapping, so that will be amazing to talk about. And then this weekend on Hallmark, we have the Royal Matchmaker with Bethany Joy Lenz and Will Camp coming up. So something to look forward to. And of course, more when calls the heart. So that will be so much fun. And so thanks again so much, Tammy. We really appreciate it. And where can people find you if they want to follow you on social media or that kind of thing?
People can find me on Twitter at Real Tammy Gillis and on Instagram under that handle as well. And then I also have a Facebook page, which is the official Tammy Gillis. And I'd love to hear from you. Give me a shout out, give me a tweet, follow me. Let me know what you think about the movie. And thank you so much, ladies, that this was so much fun. It was a great chat. Rachel and Amber, I really appreciate it. And say hi to Ruth Hill for me. She's interviewed me a couple of times and she's super lovely.
We will. She's the best.
Yeah.
So and we'll have all of those links in the description section. So check that out. And Amber, where can people find you?
As always, I'm at Amber Brainwaves on Twitter, and that's it.
Awesome. And you can find me at Smiling LDS Girl on social media and at Rachel's Reviews on iTunes and YouTube. So check that out. And make sure you're following us on Hallmarkies Pod on Instagram, Twitter, other social media. We try to post every day on those various sites. So thanks again. We had so much fun talking with you, and we look forward to Siren and your many other projects coming up.
Great. Thanks so much, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.